Hey guys, this is Bruce Marshall from Simpler Trading with the premium nightly video for Tuesday, July the 17th. So I've got on the screen here, I've got a chart of Netflix, and we're looking at this going, what in the world happened? As we know, I think everybody was trading Netflix around earnings, and of course they missed the numbers, and stock tanked. Now we did have a pretty decent rebound today in it, but you know, the if you listen to the conference call or read any of that, Netflix, they missed their subscriber number, and it was actually a number that they had an estimate that they had come up with. So I was scratching my head a little bit there. They've actually done that before, but they missed their own number, so that was a little interesting. But in thinking about this, and let's look at I'm looking at a 1-year chart here. So at this level here, I'm looking at this last night as the market was finished, and they'd reported and the dust had kind of settled and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go turn off my computer and go, sit in a chair and watch Netflix, right? So it doesn't change my mind about Netflix, the company, as a subscriber of Netflix, right? And I don't think anybody in the world is going to cancel their Netflix, based on that. So do we want to short the stock here? No, of course not. I want to be a buyer, here. Now, the question is always, do we come back down here to the 200-day and do that stuff? And I don't think that was, I didn't think that was going to happen. And obviously, we started turning around. So let's go back in here to a daily chart. And here's the flush down, and then right off the low here at the open, ding, 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 it never looked back, right? And at one point, I believe we were down 56 points at one time, and we ended up closing down, 21, something like that. So pretty hefty rebound. I did see a lot of people in the rooms. I was in 2 or 3 different rooms today, and people had either shorted it yesterday or bought it bought the dip this morning, and that was awesome. High five and congratulations to you guys that did that. I did not. I set up a bullish butterfly yesterday. It did not work. That goes back to always sizing appropriately for your trade. Because even after I said this in a breakout session, even after I looked at it last night and I was like, well, that butterfly didn't work. But I did not lose 1 minute of sleep over it because I sized it small, and that's unfortunately the way you got to do, because if you have $5, $10, $20,000 in a trade like that and it blows up, that's gonna hurt for a little while, right? So anyway, the big thing was, what is that going to do to the market? And of course, we bounced off that low and never looked back. And as it relates to the NASDAQ, same thing. Look at this. So we hit this low, gap down, fill the gap, just never look back. All-time high here again. Let's go out to a yearly chart. So we're back up here. Now we're getting a little frothy here, but here's the thing, and I wanted to kind of go over big picture conversation with you on the NASDAQ and Netflix and kind of what that means. Everyone was assuming, and I kind of thought the same thing, maybe possibly that the Netflix is going to bring down the NASDAQ. Others were going to, start snowballing down. Amazon, for example, Amazon, Google, Apple, all that kind of stuff. So let's look at a chart, Amazon today. So if you came in and you bought this dip, you were handsomely rewarded, right? So as it relates to the NASDAQ, again, it just didn't phase it, right? So that being said, am I an aggressive buyer of the NASDAQ here at this level? The new all-time high? Not really. Kind of makes me nervous. And I've been, I always watch Carolyn's videos and charts and things, and tighten up stops. We're getting some of these levels, but here's the tricky part. We have, in the next 2 weeks, we've got Amazon, we've got Google, we've got Apple, AMD, on and on and on and on and on. Tesla, and so a lot of the big Nasdaq names, right? So it could be make or break time for the Nasdaq. I don't think it'll be break time, but we never know. I didn't think Netflix was going to miss, and they did. What happens if Amazon misses, or Apple or Google, or the trend is for we start seeing a trend from the conference calls of they're not raising guidance. They don't have to they don't have to lower guidance. They just don't raise it. Then that's going to be a problem. So anyway, that being said, we don't know. I'm not bearish. I don't want to no way no how short this thing. I'm just saying, let's keep everything in perspective, just like we did on this Netflix trade. As we go forward to trade, with reasonable size, you can't make money if you trade too tiny, but you got to be reasonable on your sizing. In other words, that being said, I would consider doing maybe a little hedging in the Nasdaq as we get closer and closer, especially to Apple. Apple and Amazon, but primarily Amazon. Facebook, I forgot about that. But and maybe we want to do a straddle just prior to earnings on Amazon, for example, in the queues or something. But I'm just throwing out some ideas to think about. I just don't want everybody to get super bullish long here and get smacked down if we have a momentary pullback. Now, that being said, if we could have a kind of a down day at any point in time because of China, whatever, and that's well within reason, right? Nothing out of the ordinary there, and so don't be surprised if that were to happen. But again, the big things to look out for is an overall trend that's starting to develop, and we won't know that for 2 or 3 weeks as we get further and deeper into the earnings season, and go into it that way. So I wanted to talk about the Nasdaq and how we how kind of to play that with all of these coming up. Obviously, names like Amazon and so forth, Google, we will set up earnings plays for those, and you can trade those into earnings in the next couple days, couple of weeks. There's lots of good setups there. Those just change by the second during the day as the prices are moving around. I'm not sure what to do with Amazon. It continues to. I mean, there are no levels that it won't break. It doesn't matter what kind of level you throw up above it. It just slices right through it, right? Which starting to make me pretty nervous. But anyway, I'll still trade it, right? but there's a ton of other ones. But let's switch gears and go to the S&P real quick. Kind of had the same thing, flush down, rally up here, look great. Let's get back out on the bigger time frames here. We've kind of broken through. We broke through the 2800 level here. Finally, you guys know how long I've been doing the videos saying if we can just get through there, and I've done this a million times here. We get really, rally. Oh, this is it. No, it's not. This is it. And we get here, and we've just been bouncing up against it. And we knew that this was going to happen. We get through that at some point, and we did finally. As we get higher, that will start to act as a base, of support. Kind of flips over on the other side. I did want to show you guys a chart, very interesting chart here. So we went to, let's get the daily chart back up here. 2814. So give me a second. I'm pulling this up. I haven't seen, this is Carolyn's chart from yesterday, right? Or from this morning. And her level there, I don't know if you can see that or not, is 2818. 2818. We hit 2814, 4 points away. And so she is saying here, and I agree, these timing days, timing is it's a real thing, right? 12 up, 11 down, 13 up, 11 up, 10 up, 11 down. 11 to 13 days up are the prior rally swings. We're 10 days and now 11 up from the last low, because again, this was done before this push up here, right? This was done this morning before the market opened, or yesterday after the market closed. So we're starting to get a little overhead. If we go to a smaller time frame, you're actually getting even more overhead. Could we pull back here before making another run higher? Sure, absolutely. Do I think that'll happen? Unfortunately, I kind of think it will. Again, we're in limbo land, because everything can be great chart-wise, and we have like clear air up above us and all that kind of stuff, but then something happens with the tariff war, or we get some bad numbers from somebody along the way, whatever. So just be careful. You might want to consider doing some volatility plays. The VIX has come back down now to 12. It actually went under 12 a little bit today, so I'm considering doing some volatility plays here, whether that's actually trading the VIX or the VXX or one of the others, or trying to position a long Vega trade, such as a calendar, maybe a diagonal or something on the downside to catch a vol pop. But you got to be careful, because we could rip through here and keep slicing higher and higher and higher, because everyone is in bull mode now and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. So, but I always go back to your trading plan and say, where's your risk? How much risk do you have? If you trade by the Greeks like I do, how much Vega do you have? How much Delta do you have, and so forth? How much Theta? And just monitor it that way and manage it that way. I'm still looking for more upside here. I've been scalping the S&P on a very short-term basis, and it's been working really well. At some point maybe that won't work as well, but we'll see. But again, we're so tied to earnings for the next couple of weeks that it's going to be tough to do anything but on a really short-term basis. Now I am projecting and looking for higher prices in the S&P overall. I'm going to assume, we got to make assumptions, right? I'm going to assume that we're going to have good earnings season overall. I'm not naming any specific stocks, just generally thinking that earnings are going to be good this quarter. We're going to go higher in the S&P. Midterm elections coming up. Guess what? There's going to want to be a little more resolution in the tariff talks before that, I'm pretty sure. So that could give us a shot in the arm if we get great earnings and some resolution on tariff. This market's going higher. Doesn't mean can't pull back before then in order to make a run higher, but we want to position accordingly for that. So again, I always look at big picture and then try to narrow down. And I say big picture next 3, 4, 6 months maybe at max. And then we want to trade, or boil it down to trading on an intraday or daily or weekly basis, primarily weekly for me specifically. But and a lot of you guys are a lot better at trading the intraday scalping stuff than I am. But again, I'm trying to look at levels and see where we go. Now, the next level up here, this is on a daily chart on the S&P 2869. Again, on some smaller time frames, there's levels around 2829, I believe, and then 2850, of course. So we want to be aware of those. Again, let me get out here on the daily chart. But this is looking very good, and we are looking to go higher. Now, the other thing too, we have got CSX Railroad reported today after the close and crushed it. Good earnings, all that kind of stuff. It's up 3% in late trade, beating the street, etc. We've got Canadian Pacific Rail reports tomorrow. We had UAL today that reported beat, great quarter, it's higher. We've got Union Pacific on Thursday, and we've got KSU on Friday, which are all transportation stocks, right? Why am I even mentioning that? Well, You really kind of need to know what's going on with the transports. And there's only been two primary last 2 days that are reported, but the transports here resting on the 200-day go this way. Guess what? That's going to, transports lead the market typically. We've got some other underlying things going on with correlation right now. The Dow's not participating, industrials, so forth, crude. There's other issues going on, but keep an eye on the transports over the next week or so, and we could look to play this long, assuming everything's going to do well, and I think they will. I am seeing projections of decreased freight, automotive primarily, things like that, and all kind of material and things. Potentially, if a trade war gets worse and all, or turns into, a bigger deal and all that kind of stuff, could put a damper on the rails and and the airlines and the shipping and so forth, truckers. So we need to keep an eye on that. But in general, everything so far is so good. And again, on the transports right here, we are looking at, this is a 200-day. How many times have we touched 200-day and held? And right here we did not hold. But we're breaking back through. Once we get above the 200-day, I'll feel a whole lot better, right? So anyway, again, I was trying to give you guys some, some concepts of maybe bigger picture things, and thought process on how to trade for this upcoming earnings season that we're kind of ankle deep in, but we're about to get knee deep and waist deep next week. Again, I am considering, maybe hedging a little bit on the NASDAQ for, if I think I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking if there becomes where the big techs primarily are not doing well, it's going to be pretty important to have a little bit of hedging on the downside on the NASDAQ. Now the indexes will probably could trade a little independently. I think the Russell will still hang in there without the NASDAQ maybe, but and the S&P too probably could. They tend to work together or not work together, but again, we're totally in limbo until we get a little bit deeper into this earnings season. So wanted to give you some broad thoughts. I don't really have a specific setup today for you guys. I usually try to give you guys an idea of something we can actually do. But with the NASDAQ hitting all-time highs, S&P hitting new intermediate highs, I guess is a good word for it. It's tough to say let's put this on or that on, coming in the door tomorrow, because we have no idea which way the market's going to go. And just FYI, if you didn't have a chance to catch the end of the day stock picking session, I did that today, and I actually threw out some specific examples on hedging on the NDX, and you might want to check that out if you're interested. I did a couple of butterflies on the downside and looked at some ideas on the S&P as well from a volatility standpoint. If not, remind me in the SO room. I'll be in there and we can look at those as well. And again, I don't have anything on right now. I do have a calendar on in the SPX, but I don't have anything on the NASDAQ at all right now. I'm just kind of on the sidelines watching, but getting interested in possibly doing something at these levels. So anyway, again, I hope this helps from a big picture standpoint, and we shall see over the next couple days, couple of weeks, which way we go, and hopefully we open up some opportunities to do some cool stuff. So thanks for the time, and I will see you guys in the room tomorrow. Thanks.